I have this other book I checked out at the library, and I'm disturbed. It's written by a man who was a staff sergeant in the Army Reserve that served at a unit in Guantanamo Bay before the 2008 presidential election, by the way. And he discusses things that happened. I'm going to read these excerpts. It seems very important right now. We walked through the brush to the fence line. When we got up close, we saw that the facility was surrounded by two parallel fences, typical for detention installations, with brush growing between them. We walked around looking for gaps in the brush to see what was inside. We could make out six trailer-type structures in two rows of three, with a larger building at the end about the size of a double-wide trailer. The buildings were covered in aluminum cladding and resembled the newer structures that Halliburton had put inside Camp America. Halliburton Company was the main contractor for most of the newer buildings in Camp America, including Camps 5 and 6, which were still under construction. The buildings had small shuttered windows. They appeared to be facilities for holding detainees, but there were no guard towers, and the small dusty parking lot was empty. Private Vasquez and I crept along the fence trying to figure out what this place could be. As we got a little closer to the eastern side, we could see an access trail that connected to the lane outside ACP Roosevelt. If we were at the checkpoint looking forward on Sherman Road, the lane that intersected it on the left would have led directly to this place. I turned to Vasquez and said, "What the fuck do you think this is?" "I think we just found our Auschwitz," he said. Auschwitz? That was Private Vasquez being a smart aleck. I don't think he was being a smart aleck. I think it was his understanding of what they found. Later in the book, page 88. I didn't get that chance. The van remained in the clinic with its lights off. After 15 minutes, I walked back to the clinic and got close enough to see that the escorts were not in the van anymore. Its back doors were closed, and there was no activity in the entrance area of the clinic. As I walked back to Tower 1, I saw one of the escorts exit the clinic and park the van about 10 feet from the front entrance. I climbed back into Tower 1 and asked Specialist Richard Foster and Staff Sergeant Sean Winslow, who had just come on duty to relieve Staff Sergeant Green, if they'd seen anything or anyone being unloaded from the van. While the tower did not offer a view of the back of the van or the entrance to the clinic, the front of the medical clinic and the walkway from Alpha Block were visible. But they hadn't heard anything. Both guys were looking at me kind of funny. They knew the van's movements were not our business, but neither questioned me about my interest in it. I saw the van take two detainees out of Cell Block Alpha and drive them outside of Camp America. I then observed the van take a third detainee and personally watched as it drove him outside of Camp America and turned down the road that led to the beach in Camp No. Following the departure of that third detainee, the van was absent from Camp 1 for the next few hours. My guards and I all noticed its absence. When the van appeared again at 11:30, it entered into Camp 1 via the Sally Port. These were the basic facts of my observations and those of my men, whose job it was to make such observations. We were the guards for all the entry and exit points of Camp 1 and the rest of Camp America. There was no one else who had that duty but my men and me. If, as Lisa reported to me, those men arrived dead at the clinic, then they expired somewhere outside of Camp 1. This is one fact about which I was an expert. It was my job that night to know that fact. The military paid me and the 35 soldiers I was overseeing to be absolutely certain of everything we observed, what we saw and didn't see. I was absolutely certain that these three detainees did not die in Camp 1. I was thereafter eager to hear Colonel Baumgartner's briefing at 7 that morning. I wanted to know how he would account for the facts I knew. I had not read this book or heard of this person prior to my engagement in supporting a candidate for Congress in 2008. But we had already determined, based on what we knew at the time, that maintaining Guantanamo Bay was completely contrary to everything America should stand for. How many times have people since then, in various roles, known the facts of the matter? How many of them were required as part of their job to know certain facts? Even if you just give the facts and stick to the facts. Even if you have a concern that it is not your place or it is out of your hands to analyze. Knowing the facts and understanding and recognizing when the facts do not correlate. These are very basic things. There's no plausible deniability. I don't know exactly what is being attempted for activation or engagement today, but I know it is very, very wrong. And there were others who have known for a very long time that it was very, very wrong. There's no excuse. And this is my major concern. In my high school yearbook, my quote was, "Silence is the voice of complicity."